Welcome to the party. I am your host, Brenda Trott, and we are back at the Pajama Party Profit Show where we are meant to motivate and encourage you if you are someone who wants to work from home. And today I have such a special guest. I'm so excited. She's one of my favorite people on TikTok, Carol William. Hi, Carol. Carol started she started her writing journey as the contest queen, teaching others how to master the art of sweepstaking. And because you have to believe that you're a winner before you are, I understand that completely. She became a republisher of out of print mindset and metaphysical books as a natural second step. So Carol has republished all of Helene Hadsel's, I hope I said that right, she'll correct me if I didn't, work. And I remember her story, very cool. And she has started releasing Tag and Judith Powell's books, an audio series at Words for Winning. And we just talked about today, or for coming up, is the 20th anniversary of her very own book that I hope she'll tell us about. But Carol, got to answer the question and the title of today. Can you really pay the bills with sweepstakes?
No. That's the end of the show. No. Seriously though, I actually thought I could at one point. So when I started the hobby, I'm sorry, I'm chuckling at my own jokes. I feel like I've turned into my father, the dad joke, and then the only person that laughs is him. But
I'm laughing.
But seriously, I was unemployed. This is how a lot of people start. A lot of people start when they're bored, when they're in a financial situation, and they would like some type of income or joy or something coming into their lives. I found myself unemployed, and I read an article in Reader's Digest about a couple who entered giveaways as a hobby and won a ton of things. And like trips, and the kids won bikes, and they won gift cards and dinners out and all kinds of things. And I thought, oh, what a good idea. I don't have to work. I'll just win stuff. Oh, how naive I was. What the hobby does is it enhances your life, and it can shift your budget, but it won't pay the bills. So for example, there's kind of 3 categories of prizes. There's ones that you win things that you already use. You win a gift basket of beauty products. Well, now you don't have to buy shampoo because you already have shampoo that you won for free. So the money you would have spent on shampoo, you can pay other bills with. So it can be a money saver. Then it can buy things that might not be in your budget, like a brand new stove. Like instead of having to buy a secondhand stove because yours is kind of, getting jinky, you can win a new stove. So that might not have been in your budget, and that just is a huge reliever. Then there's things that money can't buy, like the time I met Sting. That, they don't really do the meet and greet since the pandemic, which makes me sad because they were some of the best prizes. But there's still a lot of what they call in the marketing world experiential prizing out there. And so that can be really fun. And there's all kinds of trips and things. That's my favorite kind of thing to win. And that also helps the budget, because if you have, say, a small travel budget and you win a trip, then you can use the money you had and now your experience is elevated, because not everything's covered. So example, you win a trip, you probably get airfare, hotel, maybe some spending money. Maybe some, depends on what you win, maybe the meals are included. Like if you win an all-inclusive resort in the Caribbean, your meals are covered. But if you win a trip to Italy, maybe not. So it depends on what the prize is. So if you win this trip to Italy, now you've got your airfare covered, your hotel, maybe some experiences. But you still have to pay for all your meals. You might want to buy souvenirs. You have to tip people. You got to get yourself to the airport. They usually provide transfers once you arrive. And so you still need to have some money. So then you're actually spending money, not saving money, but you've elevated your experience. So if a trip isn't even in your budget and then you win one, there you go. It's something else. I remember having a message from a couple. They never got a honeymoon. And they won a cruise that they were taking for their 25th wedding anniversary, right? Because they were, in an income bracket that just never allowed for travel. and they won a cruise, and they were taking it for their 25th wedding anniversary. I mean, that is priceless. They just won memories. And so, yeah, they still have to get themselves to the airport. On a cruise, obviously, meals are included. Maybe if they take an excursion, that's obviously not included. So, you know, they will spend some, but obviously they can afford that smaller amount. And there's people that have won life-changing amounts of money. I know people that have won, you know, $5,000, $10,000. I know someone who once won $100,000. That's life-changing. Now,
well,
if
Feline herself, didn't she win an entire
house? She won a
house?
house.
Yeah.
And when they started, yeah, she won all kinds of stuff. And she won everything. I never had proof except for the paperwork for the Formica house. Oh, by the way, she didn't get it for free because I think, just like if you're transferring a car to a family member, you have to sell it for $1 because there has to be something on the paperwork. You know, when you go to the motor vehicles office
to register,
it can't be zero, so you sell it for $1. They put a monetary value on there, so they couldn't do that with the house, so they put $10. So they paid $10 for the house.
And it wasn't just any house, right? Wasn't this like the reason they did this was to
house? Yeah, it was. Sorry to interrupt you. So apparently, now what's interesting is she had wanted to be in Paris for her 40th birthday, and they piecemealed this travel together. Like they won this and they won that, and then they won some cash, and then they something else, and they kind of, you know, Frankenstein to this trip to Paris together. So she was on her 40th birthday sitting in a cafe in Paris. However, what they did before is because her son had won a trip to the World's Fair, and in that year, it was from 64 to 65. And so she went in 64, and she turned around and went to the World's Fair. But she never saw the house. I found photos online of the original Formica house display at the World's Fair, and it looks kind of close to the house that ended up getting built for them. And then she had to go.
It's a special type of like plastic wood kind of thing.
Building material.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's not a lot of Formica left in the house because they owned it. And then somebody else bought it and remodeled it a bit and changed it a bit. And then the current owners, I've talked to them, and about 3 years ago, there was a small fire in the house. They had major renovations. And so there's the only Formica left is where they had to level off some of the flooring to even it out. And everything's changed. So... And the fireplace is still there. Like, there's pictures of them in front of the fireplace. And so they're like, they invited me in. They're such nice people. And I got to take pictures of the fireplace because it's original. But all the stuff in the back and the railings and all that kind of stuff is all gone, unfortunately.
Wow.
But
okay.
That's okay. It is what it is, right? I mean, time goes by, things change.
Absolutely. If things aren't changing, life isn't happening. So,
but what was interesting is her son had told me that they had estimated the prize to be $50,000. Now, this is 1964. That was a lot of money back in 1964. They picked the land that they wanted to. They ended up with a double lot. It makes sense now because I see the house and you see the size of the property and you're like, oh, that makes sense. It's a double lot. They had the house built, and we call it a bungalow, but I think in the States they call it a ranch, 1-level home. It's up in the front, it's on a hill, and at the back it's even with the road, so it's really nice to look at. And he said when they finished building it, it ended up costing them $80,000. So it was 50, it was like 50%, more than 50% over budget.
Wow.
I can only imagine the accounting department freaking out over this promotion.
I have watched Yeah, but it's not like a long, I mean, that was for the World's Fair. That was, I mean, that was an investment that that company chose to make so that they could get a lot of publicity about it,
Right.
buying it, and about all that stuff. And even
Yeah.
today, there's still like America's Dream House is still available every year. And I remember reading the winners saying things like, "Well, I saw it and I said, I could imagine myself having breakfast on the back porch." And that happened to be, you know, the winner of that year's contest. But I want to shift our focus just a little bit,
Absolutely.
and talk about how you took this passion and this hobby into a source of income for yourself. You're now a publisher. You are a,
Yeah.
would you call it a workshop host? I mean, how would you describe
Well, I
how?
I almost don't know what I do anymore. I just kind of
No, I love that
I
because
I
that's kind of the
started.
theme this year. Yeah, is
Well,
every,
this
you
is
don't have
how
to
I
do one
think.
thing.
Sorry, this is how I think a lot of entrepreneurs need to be. They just need to follow what kind of comes up, because what looks like a potential absolute obstacle could be the biggest door opener. And I'll give you some examples. So I had found myself unemployed and I started entering sweepstakes as a hobby. And it took a few months, but I started winning stuff. And a lot of times when a sweeper starts, people are negative towards them. They're like, why are you wasting your time? And then the prizes start showing up, and then the tune changes. But it's also a bit of work, because I spend about an hour a day entering. And a lot of people say, oh, you're so lucky, you win so much stuff. Well, I only win about 1% of what I enter, if you do the math. And then I tell people all the steps, and they say, that's too much work. And I'm like, okay, then you won't win stuff. Like it's like somebody wanting to become fit, and you tell them how to go to the gym, and they have to like go 3 to 4 times a week. They have to do this circuit on this day, this circuit on that day, that class on Friday. And they go, yeah, that's too much work. I don't want to be fit. It's the same thing. And so I started spending my time doing that, and I went on a lucky streak, and I won all these. I won a couple of trips in a very short amount of time. And at that time, my daughter was about 2.5, and I thought, oh, it's time to go back to work, because I had been a stay-at-home mom. I had been in the IT industry and got caught in the dot-com crunch when everything burst in 2001. And so I was at home, unemployed, found the hobby, started entering sweepstakes, and then had my daughter, so no one was hiring me. And after a couple of years, I thought, okay, it's time to go back to work. And I knew how much time I was spending at home and the cost of daycare. And I thought, I wasn't 100% sure I wanted to go back into an office, because I'm in marketing and there's long hours. And I was humming and hawing. And we were at a party, and someone had heard about all our wins and said, hey, you should write a book. I thought, well, that's a good idea. So you need to follow the breadcrumbs. You have to listen to your intuition, because as soon as he said that, it was almost visceral. And I know you know what that is, because we've all had it. You've had an experience where and something happens where you ignore that little voice and you go, I knew that. Listen to that voice. That was the biggest mistake I've ever made in my life. I was not listening to that voice when I should have. And even when it's illogical, it's always right, because you find that out later, because you'll get a twinge and an idea, and you go, that doesn't make any sense. And you go the logical way, and it turns out that what didn't make sense made sense later. So that's my philosophical advice for everybody today. And so I kept following those breadcrumbs. One of the trips we won was to LA, and we met Bob Bloomer, and he was cooking for us. He's an amazing chef. And it was almost like his path and my path crossed. Like it was like destiny, because he said to us at night, like he's cooking, and he said, he was talking about his butcher's block, because he bought this old house in LA and he remodeled it himself. And he had this butcher's block, and he said, this is the center of my universe. And I thought, that's a really profound thing to tell strangers. And he turned around, and then he repeated it, and I thought, oh, that's a message for me. So I kind of tucked it away, because I didn't know what to do with it at the moment, but I knew it was important to remember. And then later, it turns out he loved this whole idea of contests and competitions, and now he started entering all these cooking competitions, and he's in the Guinness Book of World Records for peeling the most potatoes or flipping the most flapjacks or something, which I think is hilarious. So he took the whole competition thing and down his road. And I took what he said and I went down my road. I thought, so sometimes things are destined for you. So he said that, and I thought, okay, so I was at a friend's house, we were having coffee, and I told her this story, and she said, well, what's the center of your universe? And the idea that popped into my head was contesting. I'm like, what the heck am I supposed to do with that? Okay, well, I knew it's like getting pieces to a puzzle, and I have no idea what the picture is yet. I'm like, okay, I'll just hang on to this piece too. And then I started doing some research. Then I got the message about the book. I started doing some research, and I had someone say to me, why would you give away all your secrets? Because I was doing pretty good winning. But again, I couldn't pay the bills. I was doing pretty good winning. And then I was going back to the same girlfriends to have coffee, but I took a different route. Now, this is what makes it interesting. I took a different route, and I passed a church, and on the service announcement board, it said, you can't lose helping others win. And I thought, that's the message for me. And I'm so mad because it was so long before everyone had a cell phone, and I didn't take my camera and go back. So I don't have a picture of it, but people sometimes say, oh God, please give me a sign. And I had a literal sign from God. And I knew right then, I didn't even discuss it. I knew I was going to write the book. And so that was my first book called You Can't Win If You Don't Enter. And what a journey. I read Mark Victor Hansen's book, The 1 Minute Millionaire. And one of the ways you can make $1 million is to write a book in 30 days and make $1 million. And it took me 20 months, and I haven't made $1 million yet. I'm waiting. Feel free to buy one of my books.
Jack Canfield is also, cook the blank
Chicken Soup for the Soul.
No, it's blank for the soul, because now he has a whole series. Yeah, that was his thing too. He had written a tiny little book, and he said, well, if I can get $1 for every book, and I sold 1 million, I would have $1 million. And then the connection happened through the universe, and he was picked up by a local magazine that had lots and lots of multi-millions of subscribers, and he sold his $1 of book through there.
Yeah,
so
you just don't know where it'll click. So you just gotta have to trust the path, and that you will get to your goal. So that's how I started writing my first book, and it was hard. Now it's easier because now I'm on like book, I don't know, 12, or I've lost track. I've done 4 audibles, 4 translations, 8 books, and I've learned I have the template that prints well on KDP, like it prints well. So when I write my next book, I literally take the last book and just change the wording, but the font stays the same, everything stays the same, the headers, the numbers, everything. And then I just write the new book in the same template. So if you look at the front, so every book is the same size. Thickness varies, but the same, 6x9. The
templates make, and I've used so many softwares. That is really, really important, because I've tried out, I wasted more time using people's software to create templates when all I had to do is go into Google Docs, create the template, and I do the same thing you do. I just kind of copy the whole book over and then put in. You do have to go back and make sure you don't leave an old title in there.
Yeah, I do have to go and edit. So like, for example, I'm working on the Italian version. I just have to do the missing chapter, because I found a missing, and there's a whole story behind that. But I give a free PDF. So I have to add that. I add that on my website. But the book, I have to do the translation. I have to make sure the pictures are in the right spot. I have to make sure the headings are in the right spot. Then I have to check all the page numbering. And I noticed when I was doing it, the page numbering said I had 200 pages, but I was up to 210 when I was numbering. I'm like, okay, I've made a mistake somewhere, and I need to go find it. So then you're scrolling page by page by page. Okay. And you're counting 1, 2, okay, 3, 4, right. And then like half an hour later, you're like, oh, it goes from 156 to 172. Yeah. Okay. There's the mistake. You have to start.
So this is coming up on 20 years of your first book.
Yeah. The first one, you can't win if you don't enter.
Yeah. So have you found, I've done this for a lot of marketing things. Do you go back and read your own stuff to remember what you might have forgotten?
No, it's terrible. I had to re-edit.
I go back and like, I wish I would take my own advice.
Well, first of all, there was no Grammarly, and I did have an editor. I had he was a professional copywriter and editor for technical publications because I couldn't afford like an author editor, but he was also always writing fiction and things. And I had 14 edits between him and my husband, who was also writing. There was a mistake on the front cover that nobody caught. I'm like, how could you two not catch this? I've printed 3,000 of these things.
Did you call him your husband?
Yeah, because X seems so harsh. He just his lid is not for my pot. That's all. He's better for somebody else's pot.
Hey,
right?
We don't have to
Like,
be rude. Yeah. So it's pause
we
time.
didn't catch it. Actually, I don't even know if it's still there. I almost want to go look now. Is it still there? Did we ever fix that cover? I don't think we ever did. I think it's still broken. I think it's still broken. I'm just going to Amazon. I gotta check this. It's hilarious.
I saw you out going back and taking your own advice about how to enter a particular contest.
Okay, let's see if it's wrong.
Is it?
Yep, it's still wrong. 20 years later, it's still wrong.
And you know what? And we were having this conversation before. You know, last week I was in my robe. Today I'm in actual pajamas and I have to pull my sleeves up because now it's over 80 degrees here, where last week it was under 70. So who knows? But last
I'm in
week
3 layers. I forgot, where do you live again?
I'm in Texas.
Oh, I miss Texas. I like Texas. We were so hot this summer. I was driving through Dallas. My car's Celsius because I drove from, I live just outside of Toronto. So I drove to Little Rock for the annual National Sweepstakes Convention. But first I went and visited Helene Hansel's granddaughter. She lives in Hot Springs. Then I went to the convention because, yes, there is a convention for all the crazy people like me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's 4 days. It's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's called the Annual National Sweepstakes Convention. If you go to my Contest Queen website, you can see the blog posts about it. Yeah, contestqueen.com. And you can read about the Annual National Sweepstakes Convention. It moves around next year. It's in Phoenix, Arizona. And in 2027, it's going to Orlando, Florida. Woo!
Ooh, Mickey and Minnie will be there.
I'm so excited. So
I went
there. And then I came to Texas to see Helene Hansel's son. I was driving through Dallas because, you have to come this way because they're in Alvarado. And in Celsius, my car, it was showing it was 40 degrees, which is like 110 or something. I was like, oh, I hope my car doesn't overheat. It was so hot.
Was it this year or last year? This
August. Like 3 months ago, I was there.
Yeah, this August it was cooler than last year because last year we had moved into our house and it was 110 in my house. Yeah,
it was so hot. Oh my gosh. Anyway, I had never been to Arkansas. Like I had driven through it, but I never had stopped. And
it's real
fabulous state. It's kind of like, it's got a taste of Colorado and a taste of Texas. It's kind of like in between. It's very nice. And then, Carolyn, of course, I love Texas.
I have to interrupt you because we're late.
No. Okay, let's get back to where was I quickly.
No, it's a party, and we're supposed to play a game. And you
oh my
and
gosh,
I chatted
I forgot
before.
about the game. Okay, what's the game?
Well, you told me we were going to do something different this time. You told me to bring my other phone.
I totally forgot to do this. Oh my gosh, my head is not. But you know what we can do?
Yeah, what can we do?
What you can do is, this is something I want everyone to do. You have to let the algorithm work for you.
Even in contests? I mean, I know this in marketing,
so what
but in
happens
contests,
is, I'll show you. I'll go to my Contest Queen page, and it's very funny. So on my page, right, if I go to my Instagram, I have it on dark mode, it saves battery, because I'm always on my phone. You can see I have Tagging Tuesdays. I post Tagging Tuesdays, and I also, every month, host, where's the post for it? Oh dear, it's disappeared. Here it is. You can win a spot.
Playing hide and seek, which is also a game. Aw.
You can win a spot at my Sweepstakes Masterclass that's this week, and you can enter that and possibly be there Thursday night. Now, what happens is, when you start entering sweepstakes, what does the algorithm do? It always shows you what you're always looking at.
More sweepstakes.
More sweepstakes. So now it doesn't happen so much on Contest Queen, but it happens on my personal page that I enter on all the time. So you're going to see, what do you see? Oh, there's a giveaway. What do you see? Oh, another giveaway. What do you see? Another giveaway. What do you see? Another giveaway. What do you see? Another giveaway. Like literally, that's all that comes up on my page at this point. And with my Tagging Tuesday friends who are tagging me in all the giveaways, so now if I go to my messages, right, so I can click on notifications, all these are tags. And if I go to my messages, which they moved again, so everybody that's tagged me, if I tap on it, if I tap on one, they've tagged me in all these giveaways. So I can just go to my messages and just start tapping and entering the giveaways.
And that's as easy as tagging.
It's as easy as that. Now, Instagram, I have a love-hate relationship with Instagram. I don't win that much from Instagram, but I also don't make it my main focus. I know some sweepers, that's all they do, and they win tons. I prefer what I call more traditional sweepstakes, where I go to a sweepstakes aggregate, like I Win Contest, Sweepstakes Fanatics, Sweepstakes Advantage, Ultra Contest, Sweepstakes Today. You notice a trend? Sweep Sheet, all these places, and they list legitimate giveaways for you to enter. How cool is that?
It's like a secret code book.
Yeah, and it makes it easy. So if you just want, so like I was talking about my favorite prizes trips, they also divide up the giveaways. So if I go in there and I search, they have like a lot of different search features, usually along the top of their websites. So you can look by prize type, when does it end, how often I can enter, like do you want dailies, singles, do you want ones that are ending right now, do you want ones that are just for vehicles or for trips, like vacations, you want cash, you can look for cash prizes, so you can go through and search for what you want. And pick.
Oh, and then use the power of manifestation to get what you want, because I don't think it's just about numbers. I know that you know that because you're publishing these
Helene, Helene got mad at me. I did talk to her. So my way that I like to enter is I like to enter all of it, and it's fun, and I dream, and I'm like, oh, do you want to go there? Ooh, that would be a nice prize. That would be fun. Ooh, I got to get my name in that one. And I do this, and then I wait and see what shows up. To me, it's more like Christmas. Helene said, you're splitting your energy. And I'm like, yeah, I know. She would pick one thing, enter it, win it, and then move on to the next one. And I'm like, that's no fun.
Well, Abraham said that we can take as much as we want, the pictures and everything, and throw them in the box. And as we start picking out of the box, we've already got them. So
it's behind here because I have a very small office, so I have like storage and books and everything here. I have a box of pictures like this for years, and I use those pictures when I do vision boards. And and I've always, every time I find something, I cut it out and I throw it in.
You know, I just want to thank you at this particular moment for answering giving a much better answer to what's in the box.
I have all kinds of things. I have like some keepsakes.
No, that's awesome. I love it. I'm a box opener, and that you probably don't.
I've had this box for years.
It's a movie reference, and it's a very bad thing.
Well, unfortunately, one of the things on my list that I'm working on manifesting is a library, because I have all these wonderful books that are in boxes behind the screen because I have nowhere else to store them. So I have all of Helene's. I have all the collection I got from Helene. I got the book collection I got from Tag. I have my own books, and they're all in bins because I don't have, this is a very small, I think it's like, is it 8 by 10? Like, this is a really small room, and I run an entire business out of it. And I have this whole media set up, and I have my office supplies because, we got to run the business. You got envelopes and accounting and, paper clips and the whole thing, right? Labels and paper. So I don't have any place for the books. So I'm like, okay, that's what I'm working on, is a place where I can work and have all the books out, because then I can reference what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And where we
I
go.
got
So
a Christmas present
on my
last
vision
year.
board, I've cut out pictures. Now, what's neat is, just a tip for people, with these computers, it's fantastic. So sometimes if I can't find a picture of what I want for the vision board, I go into Canva and I make a bunch of pictures. Like, I find images and I print them off, or I make like downloads and I save them on a stick, and I go to Staples and I print them in color, because I want the color, because I don't have a color printer, because I might print like 3 things a year. So why am I going to have a color printer, right? I just will pay at Staples for like 3 pages of prints. And then I cut them out and I put them on my vision board. So then they're more precise to what I want than if I don't find it in a magazine. So I've had a library on there a while. There's a couple of different things on there. Some of them have come true, so I've taken them off. Like several years ago, I had Audible on there. I wanted to create Audible books because Helene said this, and it might discourage some viewers, but she said, there is no failure, only a delay in results. Now, sometimes those delays in results might be not in your lifetime. So she wanted her books in audio, and her son had given her a little tape recorder so she could do that. Well, first of all, she never did, and I can't even imagine the quality if she'd recorded it on a cassette tape. I went into a proper studio. Like, there's a company in my next town, and they have a full-on studio. So I sat in a room with the headset and the crazy big microphone and an iPad, because you can't hear the sound of turning pages, and an iPad and my iPen to catch mistakes. I highly recommend every author do an audiobook, and I'll tell you why. Because even stuff that you reads well with your eyes does not make sense when you speak it. Oh, and I have a manifestation story for that too. Doesn't work well when you speak it, because the abracadabra means speak, create what I speak, right? So I would speak her books, and then sometimes I had to change things because I'm like, that sounds stupid. Like, it reads well, you read it and you're like, oh, that makes sense. You say it, it sounds stupid. So I had to kind of fix a few things. I caught spelling mistakes that through I don't know how many edits, and even Grammarly didn't catch. And the other thing was, a couple of things I had to, with one of the books, the way the stories were laid out, when you listen to it, I had to flip 2 of the stories. And because the editor, the audio producer, said, hey, we need to put this chapter first. He said, is that going to be a problem? I go, no, because you need it to match. There's something called whisper sync, and the Audible like it to match as close as it can to the print book. I said, okay, I can switch it. He said, but that's Helene's book. And I said, yeah, but my job is to maintain her legacy to the highest degree possible. And if that means I have to flip chapters so it sounds better, then I will. I'm not diminishing her work. I'm just making it flow properly. Because she didn't know, right? She didn't know when she wrote it that it wasn't going to sound right. So I changed it. And then once I had made all the corrections, that's when I started getting them translated, because I knew I wasn't going to make any more changes. Now, what's really crazy is, in the Name It and Claim It game, there's a story about a woman who really wanted to go on a cruise. And at that point, I had never been on a cruise. It was always like, really neat. So I'm doing the Audible book. I read that story on a Wednesday. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I was assisting the Silva method in Toronto. So basically, Helene was Jose Silva's assistant. By the way, after she won the house, a lot of people think she won the house after learning his methods, but he just enhanced her learning afterwards. And So here I am helping the Silva method, basically turning myself into Helene. And there's a lot of meditating and various, imaging and visualization techniques. The Saturday, I get a text from one of my friends, and she says, "Hey, do you want to go on a cruise?" I'm like, not my budget, paying the Audible producer for these books. And she said, "No, my boyfriend can't go. The ticket's already paid for. Can you get to Miami?" I'm like, yeah, I can get to Miami. So what was crazy was, in the story, this woman wanted to go on a cruise. It wasn't in the family budget. Her husband didn't want to go. And she had no idea how. She didn't enter contest. So she said to Helene, "How am I going to go on this cruise?" Helene's like, "Don't worry about that. Just focus on being on the cruise." And she ended up being gifted the cruise through a friend. And she wrote her back and said, from the Bahamas. And she said, "I named it and claimed it." So I'd never been on a cruise. 3 days after I read that, I got invited on a cruise. 6 weeks from when I read it, this cruise, there's lots of cruises in the Caribbean. This cruise went Miami, Dominican, Bahamas, Miami. So I'm standing in the Bahamas, blue water, filming TikToks going, "Are you kidding me? I read this. I said this 6 weeks ago, and I am now standing here. What?"
Abracadabra.
Abracadabra. So I highly recommend anybody that likes metaphysical, inspirational, spiritual, mindset books, any type of book like that, read it first and then read it out loud to yourself. And you will be amazed at what you hear. Because the other thing was, I learned she was really, the reason she wrote the Name It and Claim It game to teach spiritual and manifestation lessons is because in the 70s in Texas, a very Catholic community, people weren't going to hear all this woo-woo stuff. But if they were entering sweepstakes and they needed a positive mindset, that was different. So if somebody said, "Why are you doing that?" "Oh, it's because I'm entering sweepstakes and I want to be lucky." It's not woo-woo. It's a sweepstakes thing. But it's a mindset thing. And so as I was reading her book, even though I had worked on her book, I don't know how many times, I was hearing things that I had never heard before. Like, she was so good at weaving these lessons into these stories that some of them really popped out when I said them out loud. So I want people to read their favorite books. Like, you like Abraham Hicks. Take that book and read it out loud to yourself. You will be amazed at what you hear. That you had
Neville
you
Goddard,
probably read the book half a dozen times, right? It's a totally different experience, because you're reading it with your eyes, you're saying it with your mouth, you're hearing it with your own ears and through your own bones, because my voice to me doesn't sound the way you hear it, right? So you're saying it out loud, and it's amazing at what you will kind of integrate from that process. I was just...
And writing, yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Write it, speak it, yeah.
Yeah, I recommend everybody do it, because it's an amazing thing. So she never had done any audiobooks. Then she'd also wanted her books translated. Well, all her books are in Spanish. The market is not... translations are a big undertaking. So the Name It and Claim It game for the other languages is the one that's only getting translated. So I've got Italian, German, and French coming. I've had so many requests for Hindi and Turkish. So I might be doing those next. Which I can't even edit. I don't know how I'm going to do those, because I can't even read them.
Are you using technology for that, or?
No, I hire translators on Fiverr.
Yeah,
because I need it done properly.
Oh man, I don't trust
the technology.
The stories I have about Fiverr.
I've gotten, if you read the Spanish, I've had very good reviews of the Spanish
Oh.
versions because I found
No,
a
I
guy
don't
that
mean that
had,
it was bad. They're just
yeah.
stories of like me running a chop shop at my house because all of my kids were on Fiverr. I mean,
Oh,
it was fun. It was a lot of fun. But hey, we're run over. I could talk to you all
oh, I'm
night, but I
sorry.
don't.
Yeah, because this is,
No,
we could do this for
yeah.
days. I
I
love all these
know,
stories.
for sure. I want people to know to, well, first of all, find her on TikTok. She's always selling you new cool stuff on TikTok. I'm heavily invested. After we're done taping, I want to know exactly what happened with the McDonald's thing, if anything.
Oh, I haven't
Find her
won
on.
anything big from them yet, but I
Okay.
did find a woman on TikTok that won a $10,000 trip. And one of
Awesome.
my friends in the Sweepstakes Fanatics Facebook group posted she won 10,000 instantly from the game.
Instantly.
Instantly.
Wow.
So it is possible to win. Now, I tell people to focus on other sweepstakes because the odds on McDonald's are dismal compared to other giveaways. But you come to my site, I'll show you the ropes.
Yeah, she's got a, okay, so go to find her at contestqueen.com. There she's got a free like sweepstakes guide. Would you call it that? So you get
Yeah,
enter her
you get,
world
so
there.
I have 5 steps to begin winning right on the homepage. And then if you scroll down and subscribe to my newsletter, you got to get something. I don't spam people. I send out a teaching one on the 1st and the 15th. And then you get invitations like to my virtual contest club meeting and any live streams that I do because they're fun. Because
Yeah,
I
I
do
haven't I
things
haven't
like
been privy to that
Q&A
yet.
so people can figure out what they're doing.
So
And
very easy to find her on YouTube,
yeah,
Facebook, Instagram,
I'm
and TikTok. It's
everywhere.
all at Contest Queen. That's no, that's awesome.
Or
We were
on
supposed to be.
Facebook and Instagram because I was late to the game. I'm the contest queen.
Oh, I
Somebody
missed
had
that.
taken contest
Okay.
queen. But believe me, if you just type in contest queen into Google, here we are.
Carolyn shows up with a lot of her winnings, and just so that we can leave on a really high note, can you just name off like your most favorite 5 things that you've won?
Oh, well, that's easy. The celebrity ones are always my favorite. So I would have to say Sting and Michael Bublé. The most expensive thing I won was a trip to the Winter Olympics. My favorite one was a weekend trip to London, England. And something priceless that I did not expect when I started entering was the number of sweepstakes friends I've made for life. And I even had one. She was challenged and ill, and she passed last week. And I think about her every day now. It's the best hobby that you literally make friends and that you love, and who knew I would find people that I love and cherish from entering a giveaway. Like, so to me that's the priceless part of the hobby that's why the conventions are so important because we all gather and there's a lot of hugging. I was last
You gotta
year.
be a hugger to love Carolyn. I'm gonna give you just a
I know.
virtual hug. Thank you so much for being
I
here,
know you're
Carolyn. I
not
think
you're
that,
not far from the next one. Just saying, you can always buy a ticket and come. We love
yeah,
ladies.
I may do that. You'll have to see us both at the next
But you have to
contest.
be registered in advance. There's no
Yeah.
tickets at the door. Like if you don't buy, like I think it's June 1st is the cutoff. If you don't buy by June 1st or May 15th or something like that, I can't remember. You can't come because it's all done by volunteers. It's not a corporation that runs it. So it's other sweepers that run it and they do it for the love of the hobby. That's how passionate sweepers are.
That's awesome. So
I
there you
know.
have it. Carolyn Wilman, who turned a hobby of making friends and elevating her life into her work at home, but still have friends from across the globe
Really.
business. Yeah. Thanks so much, Carolyn. I have a feeling we're going to see you again real soon. You're
Oh,
going to have to be
that and the
back.
next time I come to Texas, I'll be paying you a visit in
Absolutely.
person. We could do this live side by side. It'll be so fun.
Fun. fun. All right. Bye for now.
Bye.